Hi guys, Patrick from Santa Barbara English. Today's lesson is about greetings. Now, a lot of people, they only learn, how are you? I'm fine. And that's the only greeting they use and the only response that they use. But native speakers have a lot more things that we say when we meet each other, when we see each other. Okay, so let me show you them. Now, I have a list of them here, and they basically all mean hello. So just think about this as a list of ways to say hello, okay? And then I'll show you the appropriate response and how we say them. So first of all, hello, hi, hey, how are you? How have you been? Now, how are you and how have you been are different tenses. The grammar is a little bit different there. So when you respond, your response has to match the grammar. So if somebody says, how are you? I am fine. How have you been? I have been fine. How are you? I'm good. How have you been? I've been good. Okay? So how are you means for now. How are you right now? And how have you been means like recently and until now. How have you been? Usually when we say this or when we ask this, we're asking, how have you been since the last time that I saw you? Okay? So if I see my friend and I haven't seen him for a few weeks, I'll say, oh, hey man, how are you? How have you been? It's like, 元気? なんか最近元気だった? みたい。なんか最近はどう? So how have you been is a little bit more of a recent past question. And just make sure when you answer that you match the grammar there. Okay? So been, for example, like I have been playing guitar for 3 years. もうギターなんか3年でずっと練習してた. Okay? So how have you been? What's going on? How's it going? What's new? What's new with you? So this is a bit, again, these all mean the same thing. What's new with you is, it doesn't mean like atarashi koto, but it means like, is there something new that is interesting? Did you start a new job, or do you have a new girlfriend, or something new since I last saw you? What's up? It's just like nanka aru mitai. When we say what's up more quickly, we say what's up, what's up, what's up, what's up, what's up, and it becomes like this, like sup. It's a very casual sup, like that, especially in California. How are things? How are things? This is a little bit more British English, but my British friends often say this. Hey, how are you? Hey man, how are things? How are things going? What's happening? How's your wife? How's your girlfriend? How's John? Now we do this more in America than people do in Japan. For example, if my friend has a girlfriend and I have met her a few times, when I'm talking to him, I'll often say, hey man, how are you? You know, how's life? How's it going? And then I might ask about his girlfriend as well. Like, oh, how's Rachel? Or how's Jessica? Just because I know her. People in Japan don't do this as often, and sometimes my students are surprised, like when I ask, how's your wife? Or how are your kids? Many times I'll have a salaryman and I'll say, like, how are your kids? And they look a little bit surprised, like, eh? Fine. It's just a question that we ask more than you ask in Japanese. Hey man, how are you? Similar to how are you, but we often say both. How you doing? How you doing? How are you doing? How you doing? What are you up to? How's life? Howdy. Okay, so all of these mean hello, basically. There's a different response to them depending on the question, and I'll show you that in a second. But my first point I want to make with greetings is, this is just a greeting. It's just an introduction. It's not a real question, okay? So when you have a natural conversation, if you have a good conversation flow, there should be the greeting. Hey, how are you? Good? What's up? Not much. Done. Now you have the conversation, okay? Now you have the actual conversation. You can talk about your life and work and whatever. This can be 1 minute. This could be 4 hours. But the greeting is not a real question. For example, when somebody says, こんばんは, you don't say, こんばんはね、まあ、ちょっと蒸し暑いですけど, like, nobody expects an answer for こんばんは. You just say, こんばんは, こんばんは, とか, 元気? 元気. And then you're done, okay? So it should just be, hey, blah, 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 have a nice conversation, and then you say goodbye. See you later, take care, bye-bye, okay? I will do goodbyes in another question. But this is a good conversation flow. Now, a lot of people, because they haven't studied greetings, they will have a very strange conversation flow. And this is an example here. They'll have the greeting, and I'll say, hey, how are you? And they will answer it like a real question. And they will say something like, I'm sleepy. Or they will answer with the right answer, like, I'm fine. But they'll say it in a very like serious, majime, like, fine, mitai. And when they do that, it's a little bit strange, because if I ask you, how are you? And you say, I'm sleepy, I have to ask you about that now. Like, wait, why are you sleepy? Like, so the conversation will go from greeting to something else. Why are you sleepy, or why are you tired? And then after that, because I'm working recently, okay, ma. Anyways, now we can have the conversation and we can have the goodbye. So imagine you're working in the office and your boss comes to your office door and he has to talk to you, and he says like, hey John, how are you? And John says, I'm sleepy. Oh, yeah, are you okay? Are you sick? Or what's wrong? Nothing. Okay, well, okay. I hope you feel better. Anyways, and you get this small side conversation because it was an unnatural reaction. It's like if somebody asked you, konbanwa, and you said something other than konbanwa back. You said something like, mo ne, doshita no? Like they would have to ask you about that before you can have your real conversation. And I see this happen all the time because people either give a strange answer or the intonation of their answer is unusual. Okay, so you want to have greeting, the question doesn't matter, the just hi. Now you can have your conversation, then you can say goodbye. Okay, so how do you answer these questions? How do you answer hi, hello, hey, how are you? Let me show you. If you look at this list, there are basically two types of questions. There are how questions, how are you, how's life, how are things? And there are what questions, what's up, what's new, what's going on, okay? So if you have a how question, they're asking you like, どうやってとか、どの感じとか、どの, like how. So your answer should be, good, great, not bad, pretty good, fine. And your reaction should be like nodding your head or smiling, okay? And it needs to have a positive intonation. It cannot be just a low intonation like good. It can't be like that. It can't even be normal like good. It has to be above normal intonation, like a positive note, right? How are you? Hey, like I'm good, like this. If it is not up here, I will think that something's wrong and I will ask you about it. For example, if in Japanese I say genki and you say genki, どうしたの? Genki, genki. Genki has to be up here. You cannot be formal with genki and say genki, genki, みたい. As soon as you have this low intonation, people think, oh, something's wrong. What's up? It's the same with in English. How are you? Oh, good. How's it going? Not bad. How's life? Yeah, pretty good. You must be up there, and your reaction should be a nod, a smile, this type of, yeah, good, okay? If it's a what question, what's up, what's new, what's going on, you should say, not much, nothing, not a lot, nothing. And you should have this sort of shrug, this is shrug, or like a dip with your head where you kind of go down, because again, there's the greeting, and you're asking me like, what's up? And I will say, no, not much. What's up with you? Not much. Cool. Now we can jump to the conversation. There's nothing emergency that we need to talk about. It's just, hey, how's it going? Pretty good. What's up? Not much. Boom, conversation. Okay? Things must be in a high intonation and positive, or, namonai, mitai, betsuni, mitai. It's got to be something that just can move on to the conversation part. Okay? So that's how you answer a how question, and that's how you answer a what question, okay? Now, intonation is key, as I mentioned before. How you say your response is more important than what you say. It doesn't matter if you say fine or good or great, as long as you say it in a way that's fine or good or great. It doesn't make sense if somebody says, how are you? I'm great. Like, again, In Japanese, formal responses are good. In English, especially in American culture, friendly responses are important. So you you can't say, I am fine. If I say, how are you? I'm fine. What? First of all, like, I'm fine. Like, don't bow. Don't have that intonation. It just doesn't match at all. And it's very distracting. I will have to ask you, like, oh, what's wrong? And my students are often confused. I'm used to it now when I talk to Japanese, but when I first started teaching in Japan, I was so confused, and my students were confused because I would ask them, I'd say, how are you? I'm fine. Oh, really? Like, is everything okay? Yeah. You sure? Yeah. Yeah. Yes. And there would just be this kind of awkward side conversation because it was an unusual response for me. Okay? So pay attention to how questions, you say that, what questions, you say that, but also really, really focus on the way that you're responding, okay? With your whole reaction. Now, another note. If you have the right intonation, okay, with good intonation, it's common for people to not answer, but to just ask a question back because the intonation is enough. So, for example, how are you? Hey, how's it going? Pretty good, thanks. Okay, so if I go to the supermarket and the staff says, how are you? I say, hey, how's it going? Oh, pretty good, thanks. I didn't answer him. It wasn't, how are you? I'm good. How's it going? Pretty good, thanks. I skipped my answer because I said, hey, with a positive reaction. And that is my answer. Hey, Patrick, what's up? Oh, hey, man, how are you? Hey, Patrick, what's up? Not much. How are you? I can say that. I can answer it and say question, answer, but a lot of times we just skip it because our intonation is perfect. Okay? So another example is, what's up? Hey, what's up? Okay? That's the most common greeting with me and my friends. When I see my friend, hey man, what's up? Hey dude, what's up? Ijo. We don't even answer each other because we are answering each other with the intonation. Konbanwa, konbanwa, ijo. Nobody has to answer that if the intonation is right. If you don't get the intonation right, konbanwa, 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 doshita no? Nani ga? What is wrong with konban? Okay? So, some additional notes here. We don't say so-so. I don't know why so many people learn so-so. I think maybe because of like mama, but so-so is really just for kids. As an adult, I never say so-so. Also, it's not a happy, positive intonation. So if I say, it's not a happy, positive feeling, it should be good, great, fine, you know. How are you? So-so. Doshita no? What's wrong? Why? Nande so-so dake? Nanka, futsu. We don't react to that way for greetings. It should be up here. So you should avoid so-so, okay? You probably won't hear native speakers say so-so when you watch them greeting each other. Our greeting might not be the same as in your language, okay? So genki is not equal to hello, okay? How are you is not equal to genki. It's not equal to like konnichiwa. So some people, their reaction, they use the reaction from their language. So for example, when people say genki, they're asking you a question like, are you genki? Like, are you well, right? So genki, genki. So your reaction is like, hai, mitai. I am confirming that. And that's a natural reaction. Genki, genki. But then when they learn English, I say, how are you? And they go, I'm fine. How are you is not a question. It's not a yes question. How are you? I'm pretty good. I'm good. I'm fine. Don't use your reaction with your language in a new language because it's not the same question. A lot of people, when they say like, konnichiwa equals hello, kind of, but not really. I mean, we use that in the same situation, but it's not the same question. Okay? So pay attention, even if you're not Japanese, is, buenos dias the same as hello? It might not be. It might be a question. It might be a statement that you agree with, okay? I sometimes ask people twice. So the first time is as a greeting, and the second time is a real question. So when I was teaching in Eikaiwa, this happened all the time where people would come in, and I would say, oh, hi, Hiroko, how are you? Oh, hello, I'm good. And she would sit down, and I would say, so how are you? And Hiroko would be kind of confused, like, I'm good って言ってた。But, yeah, でもさっきの質問は本当の質問じゃなかった。それはじゃあなんか greeting だけ。So, I might say, how's it going? Pretty good. Sit down. So, how's it going? How's life? You know, the second time is a real question, and I want to have a conversation about it. The first time is just my konbawa, like it's just my greeting. Okay. Now, you can tell by the intonation if the greeting is a real question or not, because sometimes I do ask people, right? If I visit my friend and he's in the hospital, and I say, "Hey, man, how are you?" Like, that's a real question, and he will answer me like, "Well, you know, I'm not doing very good." You can tell by the intonation. Hey, how are you? Pretty good. How are you? Great. So, man, how are you? Like, you can just tell by the intonation if it's like genki or genki type thing. Okay. And again, I said this before, but the intonation of your response must match how you feel. If you say, I'm fine, in a serious tone, I won't believe you because you don't sound fine. Like, I am very happy. I'm happy. Like, you have to sound happy. Avoid strange responses like, I'm sleepy. I had never heard in my entire life, how are you? I'm sleepy. I never heard that before I went to Japan. And when I was teaching in Japan, I heard every day, how are you? I'm sleepy. How are you? I'm tired. Like, it was just a very strange thing for me. So avoid responses like, I'm sleepy, unless you want to talk about that. If you do want to have a conversation about that, that's fine. But just don't use it if you don't want to talk about it. Because if I say, how are you? And you say, I'm tired, I'm going to ask you why. Why? Did you go to the gym? Or were you up studying last night? Or are you working a lot? Or, you know, it will be my natural reaction. Okay? So, greetings. Those are common greetings that we say. Those are common responses. Please practice and just make some pairs. How are you? Pretty good. What's up? Not much. How are things going? Oh, not bad. How have you been? Oh, I've been good. Just practice and do something other than how are you? I'm fine. Okay. Thanks for watching. Bye.